Who here considers themselves a feminist? Feminist?
Not really,
Sure.
no.
Come on, you don't know?
Just there's so many, like there's different waves of feminism too. I don't know.
Maybe like first gen.
Yeah.
Is there, how about this? We were talking about, we'll go around here. Feminist?
No.
Feminist? Is there a patriarchy?
To an extent, yeah.
To an extent, yeah. Okay.
Same, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To an extent, I guess.
No.
Yeah.
There is a patriarchy. Okay.
Yeah,
may
thank
be
goodness.
different. We may be different on this. I reject that there's a patriarchy. I reject the patriarchy, although
There
people
is.
have different definitions of what that is. Well, so those of you who said yes, what is the patriarchy?
Well, the majority of things are just kind of innately built for men.
For men.
So some different examples, like the medical industry, a lot of things are first researched and tested on how they affect men. So women don't always know what all of the effects for them are going to be.
Well, can I give you 2 counterpoints on that really quick? I know you want to list some other things. So, if I may, one of the reasons that is, there's actually 3 reasons. So, hold on. Let me just make sure I remember them all. Okay. 1, sometimes women don't know if they're pregnant. So, if you're testing some sort of new drug, for example, on a woman, and she's pregnant, and this drug has potentially, could it have birth defects? Well, could cause birth defects, for example. That's almost like an attempt to protect women and to protect unborn children, for example. So that's one of the reasons why typically they'll do testing more so on men than women, is the risk to a potential unknown unborn child. Do you think that's a fair thing? That's reasonable?
Not necessarily, because I'm sure there's plenty of women who know for a fact they're not pregnant and shouldn't be excluded from research studies.
Sure, but that's one consideration. The other consideration is that could it also be the case that men are more willing to participate in these sorts of studies where they're getting injected or pumped full of experimental drugs? And women tend to care a bit more about their health and are less willing to put their health at risk in to test out some brand new drug.
That could be a factor, but I still don't see why that would prevent there from being enough research on women. There still could be more done.
I agree.
Perhaps.
I feel like it has more to do with the fact that women are harder to predict with their hormones and the cycles.
That's the other thing, the impact of hormones. So.
Which is like, I can understand how that makes research harder, but at the same time, women are, like half the population. So
the other thing I wanted to just add to that is that, I could make a counter argument saying, well, when it comes to birth control, for example, there's like dozens of birth control options for women. There's 0 birth control options for men. There's vasectomy but that, I don't really.
My counter argument to that would be because birth control is unpleasant most of the time, and so the burden of it is placed on us. If it were truly equal, then there would be just as many options for men as well.
Well, I think part of it is that it's if there was a birth control available for men, it would put a lot of reproductive control. It would give men a substantial amount of reproductive control. And it's interesting to me that there hasn't been one that's developed.
Mm-hmm.
I would like for there to be one. It would be nice if we all had options.
And also, my understanding is when it comes to being able to control reproduction, the mechanisms by which that's done vary so greatly between men and women. You say, well, it would be uncomfortable for men, but it's much, and perhaps this is why there hasn't really been a development in men's birth control, is that it's actually far just easier to find mechanisms to control women's, to provide birth control for women as compared to men. The mechanism is far more difficult there.
Wait.
And I've heard the drugs are much more impactful on men than their counterparts in women.
Okay.
I was gonna
But
say,
okay.
oh.
Let's not linger too long on that. You had more examples of the patriarchy.
Oh.
That's where we were going there.
So it's nothing too, I'm not bringing up anything that's too deep or serious. It's just examples of things that are kind of made with men as the default in mind. Like
Okay.
cars, for example, impact in a crash is made with the survivability test done on male mannequins. So it's not really built for our bodies. We're not quite as likely to survive.
Isn't that just the nature of Isn't that just the nature of a vehicle impact?
It doesn't have to be, though.
No,
there-
I mean, like, as a student of physics, it doesn't really matter what the object is. Like, the impact is going to be the
Like
same
the
amount of
mannequin has
force.
titties.
No,
Like, did we got to give the
no.
mannequin titties? I don't think so.
Yeah,
I do know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Though. I feel it. Mostly, it's just that impact. We have to do like a lot more like adjustments for the car. We have to lower the wheel like way lower so that if we were to get impacted, it would hit our chest and not our face. for a
But you
guy.
have the option to lower the
yeah,
wheel.
which
yeah.
is
well,
good. Yeah.
so I mean, like, but those advancements benefit both men and women. Like, it's not the man's fault that he's more substantial, like, body-wise. Like, I don't see, like, I guess, yeah, you could make an argument that it's not equal, that men are more or less fragile than women. Yeah, that's true. But, like, yeah, I just don't see how we can remedy that.
I think it
Like,
mostly.
what's the system there that makes men less fragile than women?
I think it mostly has to do with like the height of stuff. Like I think that what you guys are saying is that it
just
has
like accommodations and stuff.
because
As you said.
I haven't like actually I've only heard about this. I don't really know much about it to really comment on it. But I think what you guys are talking about is that like for example like the seatbelt has to like sit like a certain way. But if you're like usually you can adjust like the the part where it connects to the car, but like if you're like for me at least I am average height for a woman and I still struggle to like adjust the seat and adjust like everything in the car to my height, and like if I was any shorter like I don't know if I could really see that well over the steering wheel. Stuff like that it's just like it's not really
Well, I mean,
designed.
I could make the same argument for short men. Like, I mean, there are
Yeah.
like men experience, like, what about Shaq? I mean, he has to buy specific cars. Like, I can come up with examples as well. Like, are we prejudiced against those men?
I think it's just on average. She's saying
Yeah.
like
Just what's
Saying it's
common.
most likely woman
Yeah.
than men
Yeah.
will have to struggle with
I'm,
cars.
I don't totally buy that. I'm just saying, like,
I'm just saying I think that was
women-
the argument.
Wait, so
yeah, I don't see it as a product of the patriarchy. I just see it as a product
No, yeah, I agree.
of women being a little more fragile
wait,
than men.
can I want to jump in really quick back on the like you were saying like drug experiments were mostly are the
not necessarily just drugs, just medical.
so your
Yeah.
argument is there's evidence of a patriarchy because men are human guinea pigs? Is that
No,
your
because a lot of these research that are done in that way are not necessarily in that kind
well,
of.
you can make the argument that somehow because it's more well researched in men, that perhaps these medications, it's better understood their impact in men, which could ostensibly down the road have a negative impact in women because it wasn't studied enough. However, if we're looking at the actual fact that men are the human guinea pigs for these experimental drug treatments, couldn't you make an opposite argument that men are so desperate for money that they're willing to go into these
Yeah, but
studies?
if they're
Take
making,
these-
if the people designing the studies have to, find the people they're doing the research on, so they have to tell the public of if they're looking for males or females.
So what if there's just less women who are willing to
I doubt it.
volunteer?
I doubt it. Out of the whole world, I'm sure you can find women. You know what I mean? I'm sure that if you're offering money, there's going to be enough women to do it.
Do you think do you think men or women are more likely to be willing to, maybe they're in a bind financially? I don't think people are being human guinea pigs for benevolent reasons. I think they do it because they need money.
Yeah.
I don't think they're like, I want to help advance science. Go inject me with this unknown thing. I think they do it because they're desperate for money.
I'm also kind of interested. I know like consumerism data for women, like if you take 100% of people who consume things, 80% of that are women and 20% of that are men. I wonder if you could make that same comparison to the medical industry. Like if 80% of the consumption in the medical industry is women and 20% men. Because I know in consumerism, just in general, women consume 80% of the stuffs. So if you could carry that over to the medical industry, it wouldn't make much sense that like the medical industry is biasing all of their research towards men. Now, I don't know, maybe it is, but their consumer base, they know statistically is largely women. It just doesn't make much sense to me. I don't know, maybe there's like statistics to disprove that. Just like, as I'm thinking through it, it just doesn't make too much sense.
No, yeah, and I don't know if it's like women are purposely being discluded for, I don't even know like for what reason. What I'm saying is that I think that women are being discluded because they're harder to do research on because of the tracking. You know, it's like you'd have to put in more effort to somehow make all the, you know, take away the factors of hormones and cycles.
Right.
But
well, to bring it back, so the original question was, I think, do we live under a patriarchy? I was asking for a definition of what the patriarchy is, and you were kind of giving some examples. So there's the car one, the human experimentation one. So what is the patriarchy, I guess?
Well, what I originally said was it's just that things are originally made with just men as the blueprint, like the default idea, when it should be for all of us.
Okay. The two examples you provided seem to be a little bit niche. Is there what are some of the other examples of what a patriarchy is?
Well, for the longest time, until about, someone could give me an exact date, but until more recently, education was kept from women.
Education was kept from women? Okay.